Alright, so welcome back. I'm Sean Fox and you're watching another episode of Made to Ramble, and this is basically a comparison video today. We're doing a bit of a comparison between the Panasonic GH5 with the Xeon Crane version 2 gimbal and comparing it with the Removu K1, because that's a fair comparison. Alright, so obviously I'm not expecting to get the same sort of performance out of this as I do out of this. The GH5 has a much larger sensor, it's going to have much better dynamic range, going to have better low light performance, it's generally going to have a much better image. The question is, when I'm traveling, particularly next year when we head over to Antarctica and South America, I'm kind of trying to figure out how much of a sacrifice I make if I leave behind this gimbal and take this instead. I'll still be taking the GH5 with me, of course. So in order to make this a fair comparison, I figured we may as well really put these two to the test. What we're going to do is head over to 60 Foot Falls, where we can take a bit of a walk. There's some pretty rough terrain there, so that should be pretty interesting. And to make it doubly difficult, I'm going to take the dog with me. Am I crazy? Probably. Let's get going. Alright, so here we are in Ellisbrook Valley Reserve. I was here about maybe 6 weeks ago and the falls were flowing beautifully, so fingers crossed they're still flowing today. Trying to walk a dog and operate a full-size gimbal at the same time is not an easy task, especially on this terrain. So there we have our answer. The falls are kind of flowing, but you can barely see it. Well, that was infinitely more difficult than I was expecting it to be. Well, I'm absolutely certain that the footage coming here off the Removu K1 is nowhere near comparable to the GH5. I do have to admit, it's a hell of a lot easier to walk a dog with this than it is with a full-size gimbal. So anyway, I'm heading home. We'll take a look at the footage soon. I've really got to get in better shape. Alright, that was a lot harder work than I was expecting it to be. Apologies for those last few shots. The video was a little bit soft there. That was a user error problem, not anything wrong with the Removu K1. Also, apologies for the ridiculous amount of dog anus you had to sit through there. Unfortunately, that's the reality of owning a pug. That's the view we get a lot of the time. Okay, so I was having a few issues there. Not only did I manage to drop the GH5 out of the gimbal, luckily without causing any damage, I was also having issues with the Removu K1. Now, I was trying for the first time using this variable ND filter. This is a 30mm variable ND filter I picked up online. It turns out, possibly because it's a variable ND filter and it's sticking out a little further than a fixed ND would, and also because it's got a little extra glass, maybe there's a bit more weight, but I was finding that I could actually hear the motor making noise. It was struggling a little bit, and I don't think that the footage came out as steady as it should have. I will instead be ordering a fixed 30mm ND filter and trying that out instead. So what have I concluded from this video? Well, this is incredibly handy. There is no way that I'll be traveling without this. This is so useful, and even in the most difficult of circumstances, this is going to be extremely handy. That said though, there is a pretty reasonable image quality sacrifice that I'm making. The GH5 just has so much better image quality that I'm not sure yet whether that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. So yeah, it hasn't really done a lot to answer my questions. As for the Zhiyun Crane version 2, I'm really not sure yet. The GH5 has fantastic image stabilization on its own, but of course it's not as good as a gimbal. The reality is though, not every shot needs to be a gimbal shot, and the Removu K1 may be plenty enough to fill that role. Alright, so I'm heading over to Kalbarri very soon for a few days, and I expect that we'll be climbing around in the gorges and doing that sort of stuff. So what I'm thinking is it might be worth just taking the GH5 with the Crane version 2, trying it out again, but this time not while walking the dog, and see if I find it a little more handy. Alright, so I expect I'll have another video coming out soon from that Kalbarri trip. Until then, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, ask any questions. If you have any suggestions, please do. And I'll see you again soon.